lost to find me. I'll be in the last place you would look, in a place where people used to be, a land that's called reality. You'll find me there. I won't be catching up on Reddit. I won't be watching any news. I'll let the planet spin without me, 'cause everything has been without me sometime. And everyone will be alright if I'm not live by satellite. It's a beautiful day, I'm running away. Don't bother to Facebook message or call me.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Film Box Podcast. My name is Aaron Souza and I'm your host for this evening, and I'm joined
by me. It's Connor.
Yeah. It's just the two of us today.
Yeah.
Back to the original.
Yeah, Sam was a little busy, so
yeah.
Just the two guys.
Just two dudes talking about a podcast.
Two guys being dudes with mics.
Whoa, man. So, today we've got just a little bit, a touch of news. Just a tinge of news.
You know, just a little entree. Appetizer, sorry.
A little entree, just a small main course.
Full 7-course meal.
We also got a little game, some poorly defined movie plots. But today's big thing today is our first ever deep dive / movie review. And for that, we have chosen, of course, the great Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is the movie that everyone expected to be the first movie review for this podcast.
Exactly. All the movies we've talked about, this was a dead giveaway.
100%. But yeah, we'll get into that in a little while. But first, let's talk about the news.
Yeah, so to keep it light, our friends at Warner Brothers.
They're back at it again.
They're back. You know, we're not gonna. There's not too much to hammer them on this time, but still something.
Yeah.
So we had talked about how they were looking for that Kevin Feige role for their 10-year plan, and we had mentioned that Dan Lin was in talks to take over that position. Turns out he doesn't want it. So they've been in talks, and what I believe happened, according to the sources I've been reading, so he has his own production company called Rideback, as well as like a nonprofit that he's starting with it called Rideback Rise. And part of their negotiation was, obviously, since as the owner of these two companies, he doesn't just want to give them up.
Right.
So Rideback has a deal with Universal as like a parent company, but he was willing to take it to Warner Brothers as like for them to kind of absorb, be the parent company for, and they didn't want to do that. And that's where ultimately talks broke down.
Yep.
He stepped out. And
now they're back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so I think it had come out back in April. They had asked Emma Watts from 20th Century and Paramount if she wanted that spot. She said no. I've heard 3 names still being mentioned. I don't know how true this is, but fuck being truthful or right. These are the names I see. There was Amy Pascal. She is from Sony. She produced the Spider-Man movies, starting from like Homecoming on.
Gotcha.
There's Matt Tomlak, also from Sony, also produced the Spider-Man movies, but he's been there since the Amazing Spider-Mans.
Ah.
And then Greg Berlanti, he's been, I don't know if CW is like the company, but he's been the executive producer for like all of that Arrowverse shows,
Yeah,
like
the
Flash,
CWDC shows.
yeah, the Superman, Lois, Supergirl, all that. Apparently, according to rumors, they're still being talked about. So perhaps one of these three. Otherwise, I don't know. They're just gonna have to suck it up and do it themselves, I guess, and keep putting out trash.
Unsurprisingly, no one wants to work for DC.
I truly don't understand why.
I don't get why you wouldn't want to work for an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to work their ass off on a project and then a couple months before it's good to go, just be told at your wedding that it's getting canned?
Yeah.
Couldn't be me. I do not understand that at all.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So Netflix is also making the news, and this is just come out today as of recording this episode. But Netflix wants to move away from their binge release model.
Mm-hmm.
They want to move to a weekly release system like everyone else.
Yeah. How do you feel about that type of model?
No.
You don't like it?
Like, it's fine. Like, it's obviously how shows have been forever. But the thing that made Netflix so interesting and different and an allure and not just like just another streaming service was that they did the binge release. Like, when a season came out, like, you got the whole season and you could watch the whole season.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, like, obviously you can't do this for every single show because, like, who's gonna care if... Yeah, like, I get for, like, a bigger show, like a Stranger Things, but even they've already said, like, they're gonna stick to this current model for season 5 of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like, do they even have, like, a original... Maybe, like, Cobra Kai? I think it's popular enough for them to do that, but...
It's so hard to keep track with them because of the fact that they create originals and then they can originals just as quickly.
Yeah, they're quick with the axe.
Yeah.
Over there.
They will greenlight anything, but then after like a season, if it's not a mega hit, they're like, yeah, see you later.
Whoops, we messed up on that.
Like, I will say one of my favorite Netflix originals that they created was Altered Carbon.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 2 seasons of that, and then it was just gone. They're like, no, shut it down.
Yeah, see, I loved Mindhunter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a David Fincher show. But yeah, it got canceled after 2 seasons, even though it was phenomenally shot. Like, it's a shame because I feel like with all their cancellations, it's like if they had just stopped for a second, slowed down, they could actually like think these projects through and say, okay, I don't think this is gonna play out well. We're not gonna greenlight this. We're gonna save everyone's time, everyone's money.
Yep.
But no, instead it's like, yeah, let's get all these shows in because we got to compete with HBO, Disney, Hulu, Prime. And it's like, shit, none of these shows are good.
It's like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Exactly.
But anyways,
it's not even like they're in a good financial spot where they can be doing that. Like, no one's in a good spot to be doing that, and Netflix of all places should really be thinking about what's going to bring them the most views.
So Netflix, don't do weekly releases. Don't do it.
Or make sure it's a show that people are actually going to care to tune in each week for.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's another failure.
Oh, God. All right. And the last little bit of stuff we want to touch on real quick. So, as of recording this, it is the weekend of D23. So, when you hear this episode, D23 will be over. But we are not going to wait another week to talk about it. We will have a special podcast dropping about all the stuff that gets announced over the weekend. And that'll go up, midweek this week, probably on Wednesday or Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll have something. but that'll just be like how we did for San Diego Comic-Con, just a shorter special episode to talk about all the major stuff that gets announced at D23.
Mm-hmm. I think it deserves its own time.
Yes.
So we'll try to do our best job to recap everything.
That we will. All right. So do you want to do your poorly described movie plots before we get into this Fast Times?
Of course. So for those keeping score at home, last time we did this, Aaron was atrocious.
I got 1 out of like 5.
Yeah, and I dumbed them down for him. So this time I only got 3, but I hope they're easier enough for him.
We'll see.
So you ready to start?
I'm ready to go.
All right. Friend zone for 3 decades. Once he finally gets the girl, she dies.
Friend zoned for 3 decades. Once he finally gets the girl, she dies.
Should be an easy one to start us off.
This should be an easy one?
Yes.
Oh no. Friend zone for 30 years or 3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Friend zone for 3 decades. Once he gets the girl, she dies. I know it's not right, but I don't know why the first thing that comes to my mind is The Fault in Our Stars. That's so bad.
They're teens in that movie.
I know. Just trying to think of movies where a guy's in the friend zone for 30 years.
It's a classic movie. How about that for a hint?
Don't do that to me. Because now it's going to suck when I don't get it.
Yeah, well, you're floundering enough already, so...
Yeah, all right, just give it to me.
It's Forrest Gump.
Oh! I should have known that. I just watched some of that movie, like, recently.
Well, you should have made it to the end then. You
Oh,
would have figured it out.
Yeah, oh my god. Well.
All right. Over 1.
Yep.
Woman abandons all standards to win back horny teen with greasy hair.
Like Grease.
Yes. He's on the board,
let's go.
Like I said, I try to make it easy for you.
I mean, that one, I felt like, I mean, the greasy hair thing kind of gave it away a little bit, but also, like, you could have just said, like, guy in leather jacket, and it would have been Grease.
They float off into the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one.
All right.
A beautiful princess gets catfished.
Beautiful princess gets catfished. It's like Tangled.
No, but you're close.
I mean, a beautiful princess gets catfished. Oh, is this Shrek?
Nope.
Oh, that's such a... Oh, that was both of those were good answers.
That was a good answer, although I feel like it would be the other way around. A short king gets catfished.
Well, I mean, technically, she got catfished when she was rescued by Shrek in the castle.
Yeah, true.
Oh.
This would be Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, okay. Look, I was on the right track with that.
You see the video?
You know what?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he 1 for 3, 33%.
Look, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
No, not as bad as I thought too. I thought I was gonna have to find some more on the fly just to help
just to
you
give
get
me
one.
some.
Just to toss you a bone, but no,
Oh God,
you've grown since our last game.
I have. Oh boy! All right, let's dive into a movie. I should have like theme music for this. I will insert something.
Yeah.
All right, so Fast Times at Ridgemont High is a cult classic film that was made in 1982. Specifically, it was released on August 13th, 1982 by Universal Pictures. So we're talking about a throwback movie. This is like 50 years old by it just had its like 50th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy to think about. No, 50th, 40th anniversary.
I'm not good with math.
Yeah, 40th anniversary. 50 would be 72. But anyways, so yeah, we've got a few things to talk about. We're just going to talk about some of the things that we noticed in the movie, some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, so this was a movie about high schoolers over a year of their life, their last
tenure.
year. Yeah, right. And it had some very prominent actors, Sean Penn being one of them, Phoebe Cates, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Judge Reinhold, who honestly, I didn't realize how much I enjoy Judge Reinhold and things.
You know, it's funny you say that because I've only known him as the stepdad from the Santa Claus.
Santa
movie.
Claus? Yeah.
I honestly didn't realize he was in other movies.
Oh my God, he's in Beverly Hills Cop, and I love that movie.
I was gonna say he's in all 3 of the Beverly Hill Cop movies, and no, does not track with me. He's just whatever the stepdad's name is. I completely forgot.
Don't even know. All right, so real quick, I'm going to play, and Connor, if you want to watch along too, do you have the trailer open and ready to go?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I'm just going to hit play on the trailer real quick, and we can give it a listen. I'll edit it in here as well for everyone else. But, yeah, so, all right. So I will press play now.
Universal Pictures presents everything you always wanted to do in high school with everyone you always wanted to do it with.
Hey, bud, let's party.
They're the students of Ridgemont High. Brad Hamilton, the fast food king.
I shall serve no fries before their time.
It says 100% guaranteed, you moron.
Mister, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna kick 100% of your ass.
Charles Jefferson, a man with a mission.
Oh, gnarly.
Linda Barrett, not exactly the girl next door.
Awesome. Totally awesome.
And Jeff surfs up Spicoli.
People on lewds should not drive. That was my skull. I'm so wasted.
See Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
All right. So, great. Honestly,
I miss when trailers were like that.
I know.
Not that I was
It was
alive
solid.
in the 80s, but
Yeah.
just watching those back.
Yep. So obviously, this movie knows what it is.
Oh yeah.
It is a raunchy high school comedy, but there, for reasons that I will explain, it's very entertaining, at least for me. So I've got I just want to talk about real quick before we get into the actual movie itself. This movie was filmed in and around LA exclusively. I looked at all the filming locations.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was like in LA or the immediate area of LA. So, whole movie filmed in LA. They had a $4.5 million estimated budget to make this movie and made $27 million worldwide at the box office. So actually pretty solid.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yes. And the first-time director, Amy Heckerling, she went on to not do much except make Clueless, which is also another like classic teen high school film.
Mm-hmm.
So, otherwise, didn't do a whole lot, which, you know, is something.
I mean, if you go 2 for 2, that's better than going like 2 for 20. So
I mean, she had other movies, so it's not like she just didn't do things, but they just
Yeah.
weren't very good.
Oh, well, that takes away from my 2 for 20 then.
Well,
It's okay.
so let's get into some notes here. So I just want to point out the opening scene, that opening montage, was a lot of fun, but it from the from the opening shot, this movie knew what it was. Like, absolutely, like, going into it, it was like, all right, this movie is about sex, because the opening shot, like after the car,
Some
where
ass.
the guy's walking into the mall and he just straight up stares at a woman's
Just
butt,
staring at some ass.
and it was like, okay, this movie is this, and it's not afraid of it.
I mean, yeah. It's funny, because like even IMDb is just like, yeah, it's about a Southern California high school. They're just enjoying the most important things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yep, pretty much.
They know
Although,
exactly what they're doing.
not a lot of like rock and roll in the movie, but a lot in the soundtrack, which
Yeah.
is great. Also in that opening montage, just a shot of a line of butts, just a whole line, just the butts in jeans. So it's something.
Yeah, once again, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and
They
conquered.
did it. Yes. I also like. I'm just gonna say right now, I liked every scene that took place in the mall. There were a few like locations where I thought they really nailed it out of the park. The mall scenes were just always good.
Yeah, it's crazy because like now malls are kind of like that dying breed of like they're not the same source of entertainment as they used to be.
Yeah.
Like even you watch other shows that take place in like the 80s, 90s, like I mean Stranger Things is just off the top of my head, but like in season 3 when it's just basically all the mall, like that's a place like I see people just like hanging out in whatever free time they might have. Now it's just like malls are starting to get a little abandoned and
Yeah.
having to be turned into other things. So I like seeing like bump in malls.
I've always been so jealous of that, like of that time period, strictly because like those places were the place to be. Like nowadays, we don't really have a whole lot of that, like where mass peoples of our age, growing up would congregate. Like
Yeah.
at least for me, like obviously I didn't grow up super near a mall. Like I didn't have a mall in my town, but like
Me neither.
even still, like there was no like place to be where like you could go after school and like everyone's around and people are hanging out and shopping. Like that's such a cool experience, and I'm always so jealous seeing it in movies and stuff like that. Like just being like, let's go to the mall, and then there's people there, and it's not like dead.
Yeah,
You
no.
don't just walk around for an hour and then leave because it's boring.
Yeah, like it just looks so fun that where you can just go to one place and okay, I can shop for a bit, I can catch a movie, I can get food after, like an actual like good amount of food after.
Yeah.
Go to the arcade, play some games. Makes me jealous.
It does. It really does. Speaking of that, I just want to, like right at the beginning, and before I knew any of the people, and it was not Mike, but Mark Ratner.
The rat.
He was sitting. It was like right at the beginning of the movie. He was sitting with Damone, and he just looked. He's like, "Man, the other side of the mall is where all the action is. This is so boring." As he works at a movie theater, but he's specifically implying that is where all the women are. That's where the action is. It's like, okay, bro, come on, man.
It's actually I'll hold in my jokes. I don't think it's that appropriate, but
No, go for it.
so he in that scene it was very much like, oh, like, hey, where the hoes at? And then as we learn with his character, it's like, oh, I am scared of women.
You literally. Oh my god! Like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, those scenes were really great. So that kind of was like the beginning of the movie. Was like, let's establish the mall, and like
Just-
that's pretty cool.
I feel like it's such a good time capsule to look back on.
And you can really easily like show each character and what each character is like, without it being out of place. Like, you don't have to go to a whole bunch of different settings. Yes, they went to All American Burger to show Brad Hamilton, but that was like part of his identity, was like in that early movie.
He's the guy.
He is the guy. But like, even still, like everyone else, like Linda and Stacy worked at the mall, and Damone hung out at the mall and was like a scalper.
Yeah.
And so did Mark. Mark was working at the mall, and you know, and so it was really great. I thought that was a good setting.
It's just I like when movies just have like very, very identifiable locations. Like you have the mall and you have Ridgemont High. There are some scenes that take place elsewhere, like in people's houses, but for the most part, mall, Ridgemont High.
Yep. And that's the other place that I want to talk about in a minute. But first, I want to establish Sean Penn as Spicoli. Oh my God. Was he amazing in every single shot?
Yeah, it really, I understand now why people are so paranoid about weed. Because if this was my introduction to weed, I'd be like, oh my God, who? Yeah, this is not okay to do.
But like
his so funny.
His accent, his stoner accent. Oh, I don't know why. It just like, usually you hear the like yeah, man, what's up, bro?
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, I'm so stoned. But like his was good.
That's the basis, I think, of when people are doing like that kind of high voice. They are doing Sean Penn as Spicoli.
Yeah.
He is hilarious, though. There's the...
oh, my God. There's every... He eats up every scene that he's in.
I love, like, when he's sitting down at the burger place, and they just all take... him and his stoner friend just all take their shirts off. And,
oh, my God. I had that pointed out.
Yeah, Brad comes over, and he's like, guys, you see the sign? No shirts, no shoes, no dice. Learn it.
Oh God. But I do want to mention specifically, Mr. Platt's or Mr. Hand's classroom. Best scenes in the whole movie, and that's one of the scenes that I want to dive into, a little bit. But like every scene that was in that classroom and the dynamic between Spicoli and Mr. Hand is just funny. It's just funny.
Yeah. There's the one scene, I hope it's not the one you want to talk about, where he's like, "Where's Spicoli?" And the kid's "Oh, I saw him by like the food machine." It's like, well, "Go get him." And he just comes in just high as a kite, and it's like, yeah, it's not a birthday
mostly
party.
shirtless.
Yeah. It's like, it's not a birthday party for me in here.
There's no birthday party, man. Oh my God. No, the scene that I want to point out, which I thought was really funny as like someone who likes a little bit of history, is kind of a nerd like that. But the scene where they were, it's just the scene where he's handing back the test. And he's like, F, D, F, and then he's like, guys, we talked about the Platt Amendment for 2 weeks. It's so important. 1906 by John Platt or whatever, you know? And like he goes on this whole thing about what the Platt Amendment is, but when you look into the actual movie, what he talks about is not the Platt Amendment at all. Like, not even close.
Yeah.
Like, he tells them specifically the Platt Amendment is an amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is vital to their daily lives. And the Platt Amendment is neither a constitutional amendment, nor is it important to Americans. All it was like a U.S. established Cuba as a U.S. protectorate after the U.S. helped free Cuba from Spanish rule during the 1898 Spanish-American War. has nothing to do with the American citizens, but just the fact that that little detail that like they were like, you know, that they decided to add in like this whole thing about spending 2 weeks on the Platinum Amendment. It's super important, and yet it's totally wrong.
Not even close to being on base.
I love it. Man. Oh my god.
So that I also wanted to point out a scene.
Okay.
Because I had texted you earlier when I was watching this, like, hey, I honestly don't think I can talk about this movie.
Yep.
And you were like, why is that? And I was like, dude, I'm like cringing so hard.
Yep.
And it's the scene where Stacy and Mark, they had gone out to dinner.
Yep.
First off, the dinner, it was like he forgets his wallet. He's waiting for D'Amico to bring it. Or Damone, sorry.
D'Amico.
D'Amico. And he's just like trying to stall. It's like there's ordering plate on plate. And I was like, oh man. Already.
I felt so bad.
Yeah, because like the way that restaurant was set up is like they have the big chairs, so you just look tiny in it.
I know.
And I was like, oh my god, you look like you're 8 right now. And you just stole like your mom's credit card. I was like, yeah, let me get the chocolate cake. Let me get the steak, the burgers. And then,
can I just point out real quick the silent payoffs of things in this movie, like that thing with the chairs. Like they didn't mention it. No one said like, "Oh, you look so small in that chair."
Yeah,
but like just the fact that it was there and it was noticeable, and it just made it that much funnier.
Because I think it plays into like, okay, this is an awkward kid.
Yep.
We're gonna put him in an awkward situation.
Yep.
Where like he looks ridiculous. And then the scene that really got me. They go back to Stacy's house. They're home alone. She excuses herself to change into just a robe.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. Get into something more comfy. Fellas, you know what I'm talking about. And women. She invites him in, and he sits down the most awkward way possible. Like, legs crossed. It looks like just hands in his lap. Not even looking at her. And she says, what do you want to do? I paused the movie, and I had to just go for a walk.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, my God. And they just end up looking at a picture album.
Yeah, and well, I think like you said, like that payoff, it's very cringy, but it doesn't really go the way that you think.
Yeah,
and it fits his character.
Yeah, and you know, eventually they do start to kiss him, and he doesn't excuse himself. He just is like, oh, I gotta go. Just obviously he's nervous.
He's extremely nervous and
super shy. Yeah.
But like that's relatable.
That's why I was cringing so bad, because I knew like deep down, like I don't want to admit it, but I've been in that position.
As I think honestly,
everyone's been
like
in that
movie
position.
was released in '82, but every guy knows that feeling.
Exactly. It's like, and the reason I was like, come on, man, you got this, is because deep down I was like, I projected like a younger Connor, and I was like, come on, man.
You can get with Jennifer Jason Leigh. You got it, man.
Stacy is... yeah. But it was a good little... Like, sometimes you just need to get a little cringe in to...
Yeah.
I always...
I hate cringe in movies. Like I love The Office, but there are some moments of The Office that I cannot watch because it just makes me, like, just feel just... terrible. Like I just hate it.
It's like that like literally the first instinct I had is just get up and just like walk around, stretch.
Leave the situation.
Yeah, I was like, oh come on, man. Be a bit
I think
cooler.
that speaks to the power of the scene though, to like give like an actual response by the viewer, like I can't be here to witness this.
Yeah, because there's the famous scene, I think, if you're not familiar with the movie, you are familiar with the scene.
Yes. Just to get it out of the way, yes, there are boobs in this movie.
Yes.
It happens. There's very famous scenes in this movie that have boobs.
Yes.
That's what it is. Like we said at the top, this movie knows what it is.
Yep. And so the scene is, as we all know, Stacy's friend Linda they're at the pool, and we should probably mention that Brad is Stacy's brother.
Yes.
So, like, Brad comes back, Stacy and her friends are there, and he excuses himself to the bathroom to
Release some tension.
relieve himself, per se.
Yeah.
And in his fantasy, it is Linda emerging from the pool, taking her top off. And of course, who opens the door to catch him? Skin in the cat, Linda.
Skin in the cat.
Tugging the rope.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, there are some very cringy scenes in this movie. But also, like...
So much we're not even going to mention.
Yeah. It plays into the fact that it is, like, a teen movie. Like, this movie, not only is it, like a movie for teens, but it's about teens, and it's relatable. I want to point out one more scene that I thought was just hilarious in the way that they filmed it. I mean, so this movie takes place in LA, filmed in LA, like I said, exclusively, but they couldn't take the time or the money to go film at the beach. So they green screened the scene where Spicoli won that surfing competition.
Yeah.
With like the most obvious stock film of waves and his little platform of sand. It's like, guys, you filmed in LA. Just go to the beach. It's right there.
That screams like, we got to add a scene. But
yeah. We ran out of filming time.
Yeah,
quick.
We ran out of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that scene was pretty funny.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So
you know what else is funny?
What's that?
So what I like to do when movies come out like a while ago is I like to just run down like the cast list and be like, okay, I like Sean Penn, obviously I know that name, but Judge Reinhold, that's Brad, I know him. What I like to do is see some names of the extras and see if I recognize any. Guess who made this was his first paid film role?
Who's that?
One Nicolas Cage makes his film debut as a background actor.
Background actress.
Sorry.
Woo! Congrats, Nick.
I don't remember if he has any lines.
I don't even remember him in the movie.
He's one of Brad's friends. I'm pretty sure. I just remember seeing him at the football game.
Really?
But
honestly didn't even catch him in the movie. That's pretty interesting.
Nick Cage is a name a face you just remember. And you can spot it in the crowd.
True. That's true. Speaking of casting, I just want to talk a little bit about. Or do you have more people?
I have one more name.
All right, let's go. No, go for it.
So, in a very, very quick scene, as a cheerleader, there is one Pamela Springsteen.
Oh.
That last name might ring a bell.
Maybe.
It is, in fact, Bruce Springsteen's younger sister, Pamela. And she hasn't been in a lot of stuff.
Just not exactly what you call famous.
Yes, but famously in the super mega ultra campy slasher movies Sleepaway Camp. Which I love. They are so atrociously bad, but they're so fun to watch. She is very good in those roles. But yeah, it was just funny to see her like, oh, I recognize you, and you were like a lead in another movie, but
not a good one.
yeah, in a cult classic type movie.
Pretty neat.
Very neat.
those are the types of movies that I would love to dive into some more too. So
That's why I bring it up.
yeah. So speaking of casting, I also want to point out just a little bit of like what could have been with this movie, the people that could have been in this film instead of who we got. So first off, for the role of Brad Hamilton that went to Judge Reinhold, is our good friend Tom Hanks.
Ah.
He was considered for that role. Early Tom Hanks, too. So that would have been very interesting. Justine Bateman was offered the role of Linda Barrett. But she turned it down to star in Family Ties, which is wildly different from Fast Times.
Yeah.
And we've also got Jodie Foster was considered for the role of Stacey Hamilton, but obviously did not get it. And finally, the most interesting one, I think, Matthew Broderick was actually offered the role of Spicoli,
Really?
but he turned it down.
Huh. Now, is this before or after Ferris Bueller?
Let's see.
After, before, sorry.
It was before. Oh yeah, it was a few years before. That would have been like, I mean, that could have been big break number 1 for Matthew Broderick.
Exactly. Could have.
But instead, it was big break for Sean Penn,
Yeah.
which I think would have been much more successful, or was much more successful than Matthew Broderick would have been in that role.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's just like, I can't recast you.
Yeah.
You are Spicoli.
All right, and one more. Speaking of Spicoli, one more little goof that I wanted to talk about. So in those classroom scenes, there was a very good scene where Spicoli had pizza delivered to the classroom, and Mr. Hand freaked out and whatever. But the pizza guy, who is titled as Mr. Pizza Guy, says Spicoli's pizza is a double cheese and sausage. But when they open up, like very famously, like Mr. Hand takes the pizza and starts passing it out to other classmates to show up Spicoli. But when they open the pizza, it's just a cheese pizza, like just plain cheese. And it's like either one, you just didn't care, or two, that pizza shop sucks. Like, that's not a complicated order. It's literally cheese and sausage, but they forgot half of the order.
Did you say triple cheese?
Triple cheese? Just on the cheese. Just get the cheese on there.
Did he say 2 double cheese and more cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a safe one.
No, it was funny. A couple other notes I had here. The characters were engaging and feel relatable, which is something that we've talked about. Even if it does get a little stereotypical, but I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think this was early enough in like film history where like they were helping to create the stereotypes versus like just rehashing the stereotypes. So I feel like it worked. Brad and Stacy had like a real legitimate familial like sibling relationship in this movie.
Yeah, that was like another scene I at least wanted to bring up. Not like what prompted it, but I like when scenes have like caring siblings for each other. Like I had just recently watched Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh yeah.
And that's another movie where like family cares about each other, and a lot of times there's like like you're my younger sister, like I'm just gonna black bully you, I'm gonna be a dick to you. But no, very caring for one another, looking out for each other. Love to see it.
And it goes back to like my own relationship with I have a sister, and growing up we were close in age like they are, you know, in the movie, and it felt real. Like it felt like how I would interact with my own sibling, you know, and that I don't see that a lot in movies, and that actually like kind of meant a lot. It was really kind of cool to see a movie, especially a movie like this, like really nail down what a a sibling relationship is.
Yeah, especially with everything else going on. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they could have just made it like, oh, okay, this annoying younger sister, whatever. But no, they made it relatable.
Definitely was awkward in the movie.
Very.
Like, not the relationship, but just in general. This whole movie got awkward a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the cringe factor, but even just like the awkward, like for the viewer, like, well, I'm now watching a freshman have sex.
Yeah, it's like I just watched
Like,
a guy
nice.
be a two pump chump.
Yep.
Yep, that's happening.
And they also had the only 2 female leads in this movie both get topless, so it's something else. Although it's interesting the fact that those things this is what this movie was about, but also was directed by a woman. It's an interesting duality there.
Yeah. It always just feels better than if like a man does it. Then there's always like that sleazy, exploitative
Yeah, right.
feeling behind it. But
Yep. And I do want to point out a little bit. I like product placement in films, so I like to like actually see where product
you
placement
are
is.
such a nerd.
I look. I work in marketing. Okay, I like product placement.
I feel like you're just like a Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just every time you see a Coke can, you're like, eh.
There's me.
Oh, there it is.
I can't whistle.
I don't know if my mic will pick that up. Hopefully.
Oh man. But yeah, so little pieces of product placement. This will be going through this. At the end of the movie, when they're at when Brad is at the mini mart or whatever they call it there, they have like that first shot of this convenience store. It shows all the products in the store. Everything is non-branded products except for an entire stand of 7-Up soda. I mean, like literally everything. You can zoom in on everything else, and it's just like generic product. But everything, and this is one just giant stand of 7-Up, which I thought was really funny. And same thing at the counter. Like all the products at the counter are all generic except for the stand of Hostess snacks behind the counter.
Not to derail this, but I do like that Brad had some of the more relatable scenes as someone who has worked as a cashier, worked with customers. Yep. Like there's the first one where like the guy's being a dick. He's like, that's 100% guaranteed. And I wasn't satisfied. And he was like, well, I'll 100% kick your ass. Like, you know how many times I've wanted to say that? And at the end,
it is relatable.
When he's like, they're getting robbed and he doesn't know how to get the safe open. And
it's like, I'm trying,
he's like,
man.
They don't tell me what to do. This is like my first day. Just give me a second. Let me try to figure this out. I found that so hilarious because I would have done the same thing if it was like my first day and I was put in a stressful situation. I'd be like, can you just like give me a second, please? I'm really freaking out over here.
Yep. Speaking of Brad, walking product placement. At various points in the movie, this man wore a labeled Cat Diesel hat, a Cleveland Indians shirt, and New Balance shoes that were all like prominently displayed. Walking product placement.
Yeah. Man, had
Boy,
that
oh
check
boy.
to run up. It's like, oh, you'll
Yes, they did.
you'll pay me to put these Reeboks on.
Yeah.
Consider it done.
All right, so I think this will lead us into, unless you have any other points to make, our final one-sentence review of this film.
Yeah, no, I just have like my one sentence reviews and one sentence thoughts that I'll just bundle all together.
All right, yeah. So why don't you go first?
All right. So I guess I'll consider these my honorable mention, but number 1, everyone drives way too fast in the parking lot. Every scene of them pulling into the school, they were doing at least like 40, and I was like, you're gonna hit someone, you're gonna hit someone. Stop. Like, you're not even looking where you're going. Number 2. How did everyone not get pregnant in the 80s?
That's true.
And my one sentence review. The 80s seemed so fun, yet so chaotic at the same time.
I like it. I got one more little point. The soundtrack was awesome in this movie. And another little, just funny little tidbit that I noticed. It took a lot of classic rock songs, but this movie featured solo music from 4 of the 5 prime Eagles members.
Ooh.
And also Eagles proper. Like songs from Eagles proper.
Interesting.
So, and they are my favorite band of all time. I love Eagles. And so I would hear Joe Walsh and I heard like Don Henley and it was just like, oh, that's cool. But then I realized like there were like 4 out of the 5 of them had music. And then they also played Life in the Fast Lane at the school dance, which was awesome. Anyway, so my little one sentence review, I wrote, it's a sleazy high school comedy about sex and relationships, but it also somehow came together to be a heartwarming and entertaining film that captured the essence of being a teenager.
I like that.
Which I felt was very true about this film.
Definitely.
So to wrap this up, if you were to give this movie out of 10, I know we talked about arbitrary scales, but what would you give this film?
So, giving it like the arbitrary number, I'd probably give it like a 7. I would say, but what that means to me, I definitely would recommend this to people if they haven't seen it. I would definitely put this on if I was hosting people and we were like, oh, we should put on a movie. I'm like, yeah, you can put this one on. What about you?
So my initial thoughts, like going into this movie, I was very skeptical. Like I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be like one of those like sex romps. Like it's gonna be all right or whatever. But I was very surprised, and I came out of it feeling like a 6. But the more I thought about it, and the more we've talked about it, and all that kind of stuff, I'm gonna give it a solid 8.
Ooh, okay, spicy.
Like there's just something about like I said, it was like sex and relationships.
It's charming.
Was the theme of this movie, but it was so much deeper than that.
Yeah. I like that.
So 8 out of 10. Would recommend. Like you said, I'd play it at a party. I'd put it on, no problem.
Well then.
But yeah, so I think this might just about wrap up our first deep dive into a movie, a prominent film or non-prominent film. We could go either way.
Yeah, it depends on how you see it.
But yeah, thanks again to Connor for watching the film, and we want to thank thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, let us know what you think. It helps us out, it helps us improve, and we really appreciate any sort of support. You can follow us on all our socials; they'll all be linked in the show notes. We've got a merch store that you can listen to. That you can shop on. That you can go to. How about that?
Better.
And I want to thank Josh Woodward for our theme music. It's great. We love it. So, with that being said, this has been the Filmbox Podcast, our first deep dive. My name is Aaron Souza.
My name's Connor.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
It's a beautiful day, I'm running away. Don't bother to Facebook message or call me, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode and everything is okay. I just want to play, unplug for the day and live in the moment, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode, yeah.
Today's a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be fun to have your own talk show, Podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest way and the best way to launch, promote, and track your podcasts. Your shows can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and even more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Let's create something great together.
Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know we sent you, as well as getting you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and it helps support our show.
We use Buzzsprout, and honestly, it's really great. I use it to track all of our where we're being listed. We get our own website. It's really just a fantastic service, and I would recommend it to anyone that's interested in starting a podcast.
Buzzsprout helps you get your show listed on every major podcast platform. That takes one of the hardest steps in creating a podcast out of the equation for you, thanks to Buzzsprout's help.
And if you want to upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right price. Plus, it helps you navigate how to do things, how to market your show, how to make money off your show, how to do all sorts of stuff. It's all right there for you to use. Honestly, it's not hard when you have the right partners, and Buzzsprout is absolutely one of the best partners you can have out there.
They care about you. They're passionate about helping you succeed with your show.
So if you're interested in signing up for Buzzsprout, use the link in the description of the show here. Like we said, it'll get you $20 Amazon gift card, and it supports us, and we appreciate it greatly. And now back to the show.
Ooh.